Lucinda Williams is an American rock, folk, and country singer, songwriter, and musician from Lake Charles, Louisiana. She has released 15 albums spanning from 1979 to 2020, and unusually, she seems to have got more prolific later on in her career.
Mate, my name's Dan, and this is a review of World Without Tears by Lucinda Williams, which was released in 2003 and was her seventh studio album. And it's my first time listening to it. I have reviewed one of hers before off this list. I've just had a quick look at the previous review, and my headline was that she reminded me of Sheryl Crow. This comes as no surprise because she did that again, although I hadn't remembered that from past then. Do apologise for the fact that I don't memorise everything that I say about every album, given that I'm doing roughly one review a day at the moment. Um, but yeah, so she reminds me of Sheryl Crow in some ways, but is different in other ways. And I don't want to put too much leverage on that because I don't think a review that's entirely based on a comparison to somebody else is helpful if you don't know there's somebody else. So I'm going to try and avoid that. And I'll maybe dip in a little bit later. So I'm going to start with the thought of Americana rock here. So if you think about country rock, but then expand that out in terms of the country element into bits more folky and more general Americana feel. Um, and one of the people who really typifies that, I think, is Tom Waits. Again, that's a comparison there. And at times in this, there's at least one track which I'd say is kind of swamp rocky, which is kind of more gritty and dirty. And then you kind of blend that with the general kind of sensibility of rock. But then on this occasion, what you do is you pull back that rock element a little bit, um, because it's not actually that rocky, but it's not full on country, it's not full on folk, it's not full on anything in that sense, stylistically. Backing it, the backing of it is nice. It's got warm depth to it at times, and particularly, I think that this kind of stuff again. Where are we? 2003. Around then, that this kind of production seemed to come through, which is kind of warm and empty-ish, but warm and rich. And I do quite like this sort of thing. And if you kind of hear Johnny Cash's albums just before he left this mortal world, then it's got that same kind of warmth of production on there and other things of again kind of folk and Americana around then. It also is that's uh, a thing that I notice quite a lot is the bass and excuse me, um, and so that warmth is added to by the upright bass in it, and I always seem to clock an upright bass and go, oh, upright bass going on. Um, Singing, her voice is quite like Sheryl Crow. Sorry, I've done it here again. She's got the similar kind of tone, except for a couple of things. So she's a bit more country. And then on this album, she sounds broken. She sounds like she's struggling to come to work. She's hungover. She's possibly not washed for a few days. I don't know whether this kind of impression that she's given is an affected thing or if it's real, but is it effective in that it creates this kind of feeling to the album. There's a dirty edge to the whole thing, and there's this kind of feeling of misery going on. Um, so, just as an aside, I want to say that we've talked about the singing, but a couple of the tracks are more spoken rap style, not rap as in hip hop rap, but just kind of spoken to a rhythm. So, I guess technically it is rap. Um, so the lyrics very much reflect this bleak feeling of doom and gloom, heartache and betrayal. It's, I think, summed up by one phrase that is repeated very many times in the track American Dream, which is everything is wrong, everything is wrong. in the Southern American accent, which I have not done justice to, I'm sure. And it's just like, it's all wrong, oh man, I hate it. And that's kind of the feeling of the album, is that it's things are just not going well. So the first listen, I found the album quite interesting. The second listen, again, some of it's still interesting, but some of it started to kind of niggle at my cliche detector. It's just a little bit on the nose here. It could have been a bit more subtle at times. Probably my favourite track on the album is World Without Tears, which is the title track, which is got an interesting take on a miserable life. And it's talking about, if we had a world without tears, how would bruises know where to go? And a whole lot of examples like that. So it's quite an interesting concept. At the end of the day, then, so I kind of liked it a bit overall, and with specific bits through it, but the gloom itself is a bit on the relentless side, I would say. Now, if you feel that you want music that expresses that kind of gloom in and difficulty is probably a better word in life, then this might very much fit in that feeling. And especially if you've had a romantic breakup or something like that, and you just want to wallow in it, then this is probably a good album for that. But just for general life and usage, it's maybe a bit on the grim side. That's just my opinion, though. And as always, I'd love to know what your opinion is of this album. So please, will you share that with me by leaving me a comment? But that's it from me for now.
Come on, kill the